thanks for joining today. This is really aimed at people that have not interacted a lot or not at all with Web3 before. So if that's the case, you're perfect here. Then let's start with what is a wallet? Wallets are the essential part of Web3. Wallets allow you to interact with Web3. They allow you to, the wallet is your identity in Web3. You can do anything with a wallet in Web3, and yeah, that's kind of why we need to talk about it first. So, you as user, you have one or more wallets, and every wallet can get connected to or connects to one or multiple blockchains. There is a lot of wallet providers like MetaMask, Trezor, but also browsers have it. You can utilize wallets to send coins. You can utilize them to send NFTs, to receive them. So they're really your address, or, well, as we call it, the wallet. A wallet consists of a public key, a private key, and a secret recovery phrase. The public key is your address where you can receive your assets to. So your public key is what you send to your friend or the exchange, and on that public key you can receive the addresses. So yeah, this little, we call it a string, is a bit hard to read. Like it's a lot of hexadecimals, what we call them. You can get an ENS or related thing, so a name service that resolves this, for example, to Ziegler.eth, which makes this a bit more handy to work around. Then you have your private key. The private key is what authorizes you to send anything from the address you just received your tokens to. You have to keep your private key, so your password, confidential. And if you give this away to someone, they can do whatever they want with your wallet. This is very important to note. You never ever should give away your private key, because then you give away your identity. Then last, you have your secret recovery phrase, which acts like as a hook with which you can recover all the wallets that are part of your wallet. So a wallet is not just one address that you see on the top, but it's multiple. Like you can create hundreds of them. So like different IBANs, if that makes sense. For security, which is one of the main problems of Web3, if you lose your private key or your recovery phrase, your assets are gone. Like there's no way to recover it. Anyone that tells you they are able to recover your wallet is probably trying to scam you even more. If others get hold of the of the private key and the recovery phrase, they can steal and will steal your funds. And yeah, you always have to make sure you interact with trusted websites, otherwise your coins might also be gone. But that's like the security part. There's also a fun part to it. There's different types of wallets. So we differentiate, or I differentiate between your coins and not your coins. Your coins means you yourself have the authority over your coins, and only you and yourself have the authority. You store the key yourself, you manage it yourself. And there you have MetaMask, Phantom, Ledger, and Trezor. Ledger and Trezor are hardware wallets which use cryptography on a chip to keep your crypto secure. MetaMask and Phantom are browser extensions, for example, for Chrome or Firefox or Opera, that keep your coin secure. Not your coins means they are on a centralized exchange like Bitstamp, FTX, Binance, or any other exchange, where you create an account, you do KYC, and then you get an address where you send the coins to. To understand what not your coin means, I have this slide for you. MTGOX famously in the past was hacked for 650,000 Bitcoin. Today's value is $72 billion. Cryptopia was hacked. FTX famously was hacked. And this can happen to any exchange. No matter how how often they tell you how secure they are. Some of them will fail, and these are just the biggest examples. There's hundreds of them. So you might want to keep your coins on, well, your coins and not your coins, but there's pros and cons. So DeFi. There's decentralized finance where you can interact with each other, and then there's centralized finance where everything goes over a centralized provider. Today I'm gonna tell you more about DeFi and how we interact with it. This, for example, is a transaction fee table from Western Union for how much fee you have to pay in contrast to how much money you send. So if you want to send $50 to Romania, you have to pay €5 transaction fee, which is pretty high. So things like that are one of the reasons why we have DeFi. Also, well, your own control over the money. Like if you keep your coins on yourself, no one can take the coins or freeze the coins. Yeah. So to go further, we need stable coins. You might have heard of, well, Bitcoin and Ethereum, and the price is fluctuating a lot. So when you buy a Bitcoin, it could be worth like 20 grand less tomorrow or 20 grand more, you don't know. And that's why we need stable coins. Stable coins are always worth $1 until they're not. But that's the principal idea of it. There's 4 types of stable coins. We have fiat collateralized stable coins, crypto-backed stablecoins, commodity-backed stablecoins, and algorithmic stablecoins. There are options that work better and options that work worse. For example, algorithmic stablecoins don't work so well, but I don't have time today to talk about this. But yeah, this is a bit complicated. But to understand why a cryptocurrency is worth exactly $1, we need to understand the arbitrage process of this. So maybe I've lost some of you, but USDC is a cryptocurrency, but a cryptocurrency that's not volatile, and there's mechanics to keep it stable. So USDC is a centralized stablecoin, meaning it is backed by US dollars and treasury bonds mostly, and is issued by an entity called Circle, which is registered in the EU as far as I'm concerned, or all around the planet. So they are a registered entity. So what they do is you can mint $1 of USDC from Circle, that's the entity, by turning in USD. So you just make a bank transfer to Circle, and they of $100,000, for example, and they will send you $100,000 in USDC. If the coin is worth more than $1, so let's say on an open market like Bitstamp or Binance, the coin is worth $1.05. You just go there and sell your coin for $1.05 and make a profit. That keeps the peg never above the line. If now the price is below $1, you buy it from the market, for example, at 95 cents. You buy $1 million at 95 cents, and then you can turn a profit of $50,000 by just turning them into Circle. So you just send them to the Circle address, and they will make a bank transfer to your bank account. This is the easiest way of creating stablecoins. It requires trust in a centralized entity, but this is how you transfer money to, well, the blockchain and keep it stable. We need those later on. There's another option of doing this. It's completely on-chain. It's a Maker protocol. They renamed to Sky, but I'm going to call them Maker protocol for the remainder of the talk. It's built on Ethereum, and it's a crypto-based stablecoin. And the general idea is that you use collateral like Bitcoin and Ethereum, so volatile crypto assets, to mint a stable coin. How this works is, sorry for all the words, but this is kind of complicated. The general idea is that you can deposit collateral and you can borrow stable coins with a safety margin against the collateral. And this ensures that the coins that you bought are always worth less than collateral that is in the protocol. In this example, for example, you can deposit 20 ETH. The liquidation is $0 because you have not borrowed any money before. You can withdraw until 20 ETH of DAI. At the point of creating the slide, that was 20 grand. Now it's like more like 45. And you have to keep a margin of 180% to borrow money from your vault. So for example, you can borrow half of it and always be secure. Now you're wondering what happens if the collateral is not worth enough anymore. Then we have liquidations where we can flip, flop, and flap. We flip for under-collateralized vaults where the open market can buy your collateral and take or restore your bad loan. We can flop, we can sell the governance token of the system to cover the bad system debt, and we can flap for the surplus. But not so important. Important part is we can liquidate the collateral in the vault to cover your debt. So that's the basics for DeFi. Now, how do we use it? This is the easier part. So, two options. We have decentralized exchanges and we have bridges. The decentralized exchanges allow you to exchange coins for other coins and a bit of fee on the same blockchain. For example, you have some Uniswap token on the Ethereum blockchain. You can now swap it for 1-inch token on the Ethereum blockchain. Great. This works pretty well. There's a bit of caveats to it, but that's kind of how you would imagine a normal exchange to work. Yeah. Then there's bridges like Wormhole, Jump, and Stargate, where you can exchange your coins for other coins and fees on supported blockchains. For example, you can then swap one coin of Uniswap on the Polygon blockchain to one coin of Uniswap on the Solana blockchain. So you can transfer across the blockchains using these protocols, and with the DEXes you can switch within the same blockchain. Yes?
Are we allowed to ask questions?
You can ask one.
So is the exchange rate solely based on the market mechanism within the
Yes, there's automated market makers behind this on a further slide here that give you the price basically. Gonna get to this in a moment. Then we have lending protocols. Lending protocols are non-custodial money markets where users supply assets to earn interest and where you can borrow money against your assets. You need this, for example, when, let's say you have 1 Bitcoin, but you really don't want to sell it, but you want to do some decentralized finance, buy some other coins. Then you can put your Bitcoin as a collateral and you can borrow against the Bitcoin for any token you want. And then you can use these tokens for whatever reason you want. They will also liquidate you if your collateral isn't worth enough anymore. And if you provide liquidity to these protocols, for example, if you deposit your USDC there, then you can make 4% interest at the moment. If you deposit volatile coins, you can make 20-30% interest a year. If you deposit very volatile assets, you can even make 300 or 1,000% of profit a year. This is not sustainable. No investment advice, but the more risk it gets, the more you get rewarded, like in normal finance. Yeah. Then automated market makers. How do we find out the price? With the automated market makers, you have an on-chain exchange like Uniswap that uses liquidity pools instead of order books. So you have a two-sided pool. You have token A, token B, and you can swap between token A and token B. As a provider, I can put money into this pool to earn interest, so interest in the trading fees, sometimes an incentive fee. And as a user, I can swap against the pool. If there's too many one-sided swaps, then the price will decrease or increase. Like if you take out token A a lot, then the price of token A will go up, price of token B will go down, but not going into market mechanics here. The risk here is if you supply, for example, you have a volatile pool, you have a very stable asset like USDC, and you have a very unstable asset like one of the dog coins, like Shiba or something, but Shiba is even stable. Then there's a lot of people selling Shiba into the pool, then you might have an impermanent loss where you have a lot more of token B than token A, even though you have deposited more of token A. Yeah, that kind of decides the price. This is the very simplified version for it. The new version includes decentralized solvers, but maybe someone else talks about this in more detail in this conference. Last, I want to talk about is decentralized application with front end. So when you interact with decentralized applications, it's different than when you interact with your normal bank, because the website you're looking at is not actually the website that facilitates the swap or the transfer for you. It's the blockchain that does it. So this is more information system-centric, but I still think it's important to understand this. So when you navigate to a website, for example, let's say we navigate to Uniswap, then you get the server sends you the website, which is just a bunch of code. It doesn't do a lot. Then on the website, you can request to login, and the login is not with the backend system. So it's not like you log in with Google or Apple, but you log in with your wallet. And for that, you can request a little code that gets sent to you. And with your wallet, you can cryptographically sign this message, send it back to the server, and the server can verify that you own the wallet. And now you get a session token and can use the decentralized application. In the meantime, you lose your IP, your location, your tracking data, your signed message, your public key of the signing wallet, your user IP, and your public key. So if you make a transaction, you're not anonymous, just so you know. When you make a transaction in this website, let's say we're in Uniswap, how it works is the web server, so the Uniswap itself will send you the transaction that you requested. For example, swap, I don't know, 1 Bitcoin against 25 ETH. Then you will get a transaction. This encodes all of what you want to do and the necessary data to do that in the protocol. You then send the signed transaction to an RPC server. An RPC server is basically a gateway to a blockchain. And this RPC server makes sure it's included in the blockchain. And then we wait a bit until your transaction is confirmed. The blockchain does its thing. The transaction is confirmed. The RPC server gets notified, so the blockchain gateway. The transaction is confirmed, and your swap is done. And lastly, the web server is notified, and you will get a success message saying like, your coins are swapped. But the DApp, so the server itself, so the website you navigate to, never touches your coins. It's always on the blockchain. So you just have it as an interface to look at, and not like the application that actually facilitates your swap. Data transmitted here. The web server basically knows everything what you did, so you're still not anonymous. Even if you use a VPN, it's not so easy if you use one of these front ends, so you're not anonymous, what I want to say here. Good. And that's the basics of DeFi. Now, for the rest of the time, you can ask any question you like.